Dangerous heat here across the west as our heat wave continues. Heat warnings have been extended here in Utah. What to expect for the next few days.
A 14-year-old Ogden teenager has been missing in Mexico since the end of last month. Today, the FBI and that teenage girl's mother updating us on where the investigation stands right now.
One Utah city is asking some of its residents to stop watering their lawns. Who's being impacted and what could happen if you don't comply?
Utah's Japanese community is throwing a party this weekend. How they hope this celebration helps save Salt Lake City's Japantown.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Hello everyone, our top story tonight is the weather. We tied the record high temperature in Salt Lake City today when Salt Lake International Airport reached 104 degrees.
We last tied the record back in 2013. This heat wave we're in right now is going to impact all Utahns the rest of the week.
Let's get right to Utah's Weather Authority, Allison Krogan, with what we all need to know. Allison.
It was a hot day here across the state. 114 in St. George, 99 degrees in Utah County, 104 for Ogden, 104 for Wendover, 100 degrees in the Cache Valley. So it was hot all across Utah today, and tomorrow more of the same. We continue with excessive heat warnings that went into effect this morning for most of the state, highlighted in hot pink right here, including the Wasatch Front. This takes us through Saturday night at midnight. For southern Utah, yours are still also in effect, and that's also going to be through Saturday night, and that has now been extended to include Capitol Reef up through Price. So tomorrow and the next couple of days, make sure you're staying hydrated, taking breaks if you're going to be outdoors, wearing light colored and loose fitting clothing. Try to shift outdoor activities to avoid 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And kids, elderly, pets, pregnant people are usually most at risk with heat waves, especially our vulnerable population that doesn't have air conditioning. 85 for the Cache Valley, 94 for Salt Lake, 84 for Price right now, 106 still in St. George. It is still hot out there. We'll talk more about how long this heat wave will last coming up in just a bit, as we're looking at mostly clear sky here across the state. Chance tomorrow still for some isolated mountain storms. We'll have more on that coming up.
Allison, thanks. We have seen big power outages this evening with this extreme heat. Right now, Rocky Mountain Power has nearly 3,200 customers without power. That number was nearly 6,000 earlier today. Two of the larger outages are in Weber County and Cache County. Rocky Mountain Power says one outage affected about 2,300 customers and was caused by a truck accidentally snagging overhead lines. Another outage affected about 2,900 customers. The cause of that outage has not yet been confirmed.
Salt Lake police are urging you to stay safe and cool by checking in on others, staying hydrated, and taking breaks in the shade or air conditioning. Cooling zones are also available at libraries and senior centers across the Salt Lake Valley.
The State Department of Air Quality has declared mandatory action days for tomorrow and Friday. That means employees eligible to work remotely have been told to stay home the rest of the work week. The Department of Air Quality says it'll be unhealthy for sensitive groups in Box Elder, Davis, Salt Lake, Tooele, Utah, and Weber counties.
The FBI is searching for an Ogden teenager who went missing while visiting Mexico City last month. I'm Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold. The mother of 14-year-old Elizabeth Gonzalez says that her daughter recently finished 7th grade at Roy Junior High School. She says that her daughter went to visit her maternal grandmother last month. 2 weeks later, she was reported missing.
We need her. We miss her so much every day, every night.
Alma Soreke is Elizabeth Gonzalez's mother.
It's a nightmare, not knowing where she is and how she is. If she's eating, if she's having the shelter, all the things that a girl needs.
Fighting back tears, she says she last spoke to her daughter the day she went missing at the end of June.
Let's talk about how she sleeps, and then she says, "Oh, Grandma is getting breakfast ready for us." As in Mexico City, the little stores are nearby, you know, every corner, every house. And then she just went to the store to get a soda, I guess.
Stephen Hymas, a special agent with the FBI here in Salt Lake City, says Elizabeth flew to Mexico City by herself to visit her grandmother on June 15th, before disappearing on June 30th.
There's surveillance video of her getting into a taxi. We believe she was manipulated by an adult to get into that taxi, and we have not seen her since.
She was reported missing the next day.
There was an Amber Alert that was issued in Mexico, and it went throughout the country. They stay active for a short period, and then they are deactivated.
Jaimes spoke about the challenges this kind of investigation can pose.
Types of investigations when we are not there doing the investigation by ourselves. Also, not having the authority in Mexico to conduct investigative activity, we have to rely on our partners.
While her location is unknown at this time, officials believe she is still in Mexico and that they are concerned for her safety. On Wednesday, Jaimes was hoping that Utahns and others would be on alert if Elizabeth tried to make contact or communicate with someone as their investigation continues.
The FBI doesn't stop looking for people ever, so it will remain active and we'll keep investigating.
As for Elizabeth's mother, she looked directly into the camera to give her daughter an emotional message.
Elizabeth, if you've seen this video interview, you need to know that we love you. We are having a hard time not knowing about you. We need you to know that you are very important to us in the family. Sister misses you, brother misses you. I love you.
Again, Elizabeth was last seen on June 30th. She was wearing dark blue jeans, a black hoodie, and black and white Vans sneakers. She is described as being 5'1", 140 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. The FBI says they're working night and day on this investigation. They're asking anyone with any information that may be helpful in this case to give them a call at 801-579-1400. You can also submit a tip online. We have a link to that on our website, fox13now.com. Here in Salt Lake, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We are tracking a developing story in Salt Lake City tonight where a man was hit by a truck this afternoon and has life-threatening injuries.
Police spotted a 32-year-old man lying in the road at 1800 South State Street just after 3:30 this afternoon. Detectives believe the man was crossing the road against traffic when a truck hit him. The driver of that truck is cooperating.
We just want to reiterate the importance of using the crosswalk. I get it, it's hot. People are trying to get somewhere shady, cool, but we're trying to avoid these kind of situations. Just make sure you look out both ways when you're crossing the road. If there's not a crosswalk, follow the traffic signs that are posted just for your own safety.
At this point, there is no indication that either the driver or the person hit was intoxicated. Police are still investigating what led up to the crash. The Disability Law Center and the National Health Law Program claim the Utah Department of Health and Human Services has failed for more than a decade to provide adequate oversight in long-term care settings.
They allege that lack of oversight has led to the harm of Utahns with disabilities. The complaint shows, going back to 2014, the Disability Law Center has brought multiple cases of abuse and neglect, including sexual assault and even death, to the attention of DHHS, but says the state has failed to take action. The complaints call for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to cancel contracts with Medicaid facilities in Utah that do not meet minimum health and safety standards. They are also asking the Office for Civil Rights and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to investigate Utah's DHHS.
The problems are rampant, and the system is definitely very, very flawed, if not broken. And I think that we can do better. I think that, ultimately it is incumbent upon the state to provide services to people in safe, conditions.
The Utah DHHS issued a statement to Fox 13 News about the Disability Law Center's complaint, saying, quote, "Our Division of Licensing and Background Checks and Office of Service Review work to keep Utahns who are in any of the 9,900 facilities we regulate safe and healthy. When providers want to comply, we help them get to compliance. When they are not willing to comply, we impose penalties and restrictions, and we revoke licenses." They also explain they have worked over the past 2 years to be more consistent and transparent in regulation processes, adding, quote, "These are processes and transformations that take time. For some, it will never feel fast enough, but as a human services system, We need to take the time to get this right. You may recall the Fox 13 News investigative team has followed 2 cases of long-term care facilities facing accusations of abuse.
In May, Highland Ridge Hospital, a for-profit psychiatric facility in Midvale, closed its doors after nearly 3 years of serious issues. Fox 13 News accumulated dozens of police reports from the Unified Police Department detailing assault and sexual assault cases. DHHS revoked Highland Ridge Hospital's standard license for separate times, but never closed its doors.
Also in Midvale, assisted living facility Evergreen Place was shut down back in March. Managers there pled guilty to charges of exploitation and neglect of vulnerable adults on March 21st of this year. The case was in connection with multiple felony charges filed against them by the Utah Attorney General's office for the, quote, deplorable conditions found by Salt Lake County health officials. Unsafe and unsanitary conditions included insect infestations, overcrowding, inadequate staffing, and a lack of food or proper medical care. In the wake of this case, DHHS said they are evaluating their regulatory framework and their resources.
With extreme heat in southern Utah, one city is asking residents to cut power use in order to save the electric grid.
Plus, more Democratic politicians speak out, calling for President Biden to drop out of the race for the White House.
And how much did Utah benefit economically from hosting the 2002 Winter Olympics and Paralympics? And what could be the windfall of hosting again in 2034?
It's been a rough few weeks with the Utah State football program with the dismissal of their coach. How can they focus on football? We'll hear from the team at Mountain West Conference Media Days.
For the first time, we're hearing from Utah State University football players after 4 people were fired from the athletic department, including head football coach Blake Anderson.
It comes as the Mountain West Football Conference began their media days in Las Vegas today. Fox 13 Sports Director Jeff Ranier joining us a little early tonight for the update. Jeff.
Yeah, Bob and Kelly, quarterback Spencer Petras and safety Ike Larson represented the Aggies in Las Vegas today. And the big topic of conversation was the coaching change. 8 days after they found out that Blake Anderson was out as the head coach.
It was shocking to hear, the news, and it's just sad. And, adversity hits, right? And there's 2 things we can do about it. We can either dwell on it and look at it in a bad way, or kind of try to be positive about it. And I think we've tried to be as positive as we can while moving forward in what we're doing, and the goal hasn't changed. The main thing is still, go out and try to compete for a Mountain West title, and we've been taking those steps to do so. So I think we're on the right track, and we're going to continue to do that.
I've only known Coach Anderson for probably 7 months now, and I've grown pretty close with him, and I think he's a really good coach, and he's been a mentor, and I've learned to really love the guy. So it was hard and it was shocking, but fall camp's 3 weeks away, and so as much as it hurts that it all happened, my focus is on the season.
Yeah, you have to feel for the players at Utah State. The Aggies were picked to finish 7th in the Mountain West in a season that's off to a tough start. We'll hear from BYU at Big 12 Media Days coming up later in sports.
Jeff, thanks so much. In national news, more Democratic lawmakers are openly speculating about whether President Biden will step aside in his bid for re-election.
Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal says that he is deeply concerned about Biden winning. Colorado Senator Michael Bennet said the president needs to consider his options. Former House Speaker and current California Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi told MSNBC the time is running out for Biden to decide whether or not he's running. And actor George Clooney, who's been a major fundraiser for President Biden, believes the president should step aside for another candidate. Meanwhile, ABC News anchor George Stephanopoulos is apologizing for comments he made about President Biden. He told a stranger in New York he did not think Biden could serve another 4 years. ABC News also released a statement saying that is not the position of the network.
New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has introduced impeachment articles against Supreme Court Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. She says their failures to disclose millions of dollars worth of gifts while on the high court, quote, represents nothing less than a constitutional crisis. The effort to impeach is expected to fail in the Republican-led House of Representatives.
All right, if you're sick of these late sunsets and you're looking forward to eventually some cooler temperatures and the sun setting earlier in the evening, I have some good news for you. 9 o'clock sunset tonight. From here on out, we're back into the 8 o'clock hour for our sunsets, and those are just going to keep getting earlier and earlier. But right now, beautiful view, a live look from the Natural History Museum. This is in Salt Lake facing west. Temperatures tonight rather mild. So as you wake up tomorrow morning, even if you get up early in the day, 6 a.m., you're already in the upper 70s. That's basically as cool as it's going to get tonight. As we look at Salt Lake City's forecast for tomorrow, 105, so even hotter than it was today. Today we hit 104, that tied a daily record. Air quality for tomorrow is orange, unhealthy for sensitive groups. And as we look at the excessive heat warnings that are currently in place, these will remain in effect through Saturday night at midnight. So we are in the middle of a heat wave here across the state, and we're going to have very, very hot temperatures for the Wasatch Front, mainly 100 to 105, although we could possibly hit 106. And there is about a 10% chance that we could hit 107 here in Salt Lake over the next few days. And that would tie our all-time hottest temperature ever recorded here in Salt Lake City. Southern Utah, 107 to about 115, and this is going to be for the next several days for daytime highs near the Arizona border. Western Utah, mainly 100 to 107 out towards the West Desert. Into central Utah near Capitol Reef, 98 to 106. Far eastern Utah, you'll have a heat advisory for Friday. We're looking at 100 to 106 down towards Moab and also into the Uinta Basin. So satellite and radar, pretty clear here across the state. We did have the chance for some isolated showers along the mountains today, pretty moisture starved though, so the bigger concern will be for tomorrow. Again, the possibility of some dry microbursts or possibly even some dry lightning along the higher terrain. So we'll want to keep a close eye on that. As you wake up tomorrow morning, as we discussed, it's going to be a very warm start. By 8 a.m. tomorrow, we're close to 80 here in Salt Lake, near 90 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning. Overnight temps, 65 to 75 for much of Utah. So that's one of the problems over the next couple of days is we don't see much relief during the overnight hours. We have a very hot day. Temperatures tomorrow 105, orange air quality for St. George. You start the day in the 80s and you wind up tomorrow close to 110 to 115 across southern Utah. Most of the state tomorrow near daily records. So we have a lot of heat in the forecast for Salt Lake tomorrow, 105, Tooele 104, Provo right at that century mark, 104 for Ogden, 101 for Logan. Upper 90s for Vernal, low 90s even for Park City, and for St. George, 114. We'll have the chance for maybe some isolated storms along the higher terrain tomorrow. Again, pretty moisture starved. Main threats will be dry microbursts and dry lightning. St. George, 114 tomorrow, 113 on Friday, near 110 on Saturday for Salt Lake. We're close to 105 to 106 Thursday, Friday, Saturday, still in the triple digits on Sunday. We'll be right back.
Criminal charges have been filed against a former Republican candidate for Utah Attorney General. Frank Mylar is accused of offering a political rival a job in exchange for his endorsement. Mylar emerged from the state Republican Party convention and was a candidate in the Republican primary, but opponent Trent Christensen went to police alleging Mylar offered him a job should he be elected Attorney General in exchange for Christensen's endorsement at the state GOP convention. Mylar is now facing a third-degree felony charge of bribery in an election.
You can walk up to somebody and say, I would really like your support, and the conversation stops. There's a period at that point. You don't get to say, and by the way, I'll offer you a job, or I'll offer you some valuable consideration in order for you to do that. Then you are crossing that threshold.
Mylar's attorney tells Fox 13 News his client categorically denies any wrongdoing and will plead not guilty. While he may have won at convention, Mylar lost the GOP primary to Derek Brown. who gathered signatures to win a spot on the ballot.
The state's top court is set to make a significant ruling on redistricting. Fox 13 News has confirmed the Utah Supreme Court is set to issue an opinion tomorrow in a lawsuit challenging the Utah legislature's redistricting process. The legislature is appealing a lower court's decision to keep alive a lawsuit filed by the League of Women Voters of Utah and Mormon Women for Ethical Government. The lawsuit alleges lawmakers trampled over a citizen ballot initiative for independent redistricting when it approved congressional boundaries. The court heard arguments last year in the case. And with that, ground has been broken on a new visitors center at Antelope Island State Park. It will feature a theater and a space for events. It will also have a learning center. There's renderings. This is all to help people learn about the Great Salt Lake. I should say learn more about the Great Salt Lake. Also ways to protect and of course help save it. The construction project is expected to last about 18 months.
How much is Utah still benefiting from the 2002 Winter Olympics? Billions of dollars. And 2034 could bring more benefits for Utah.
The Japanese community is using dance and a special celebration this weekend to help people understand the importance of Japantown and why it needs to be preserved.
A local business that offers critical services to women has now hit an unexpected road bump. Why they're hoping to reach a resolution with a local city.
Eagle Mountain is asking some residents to stop watering their lawns. Who is impacted and what the penalty could be for not complying.
BYU went 2-7 in their first year in the Big 12. Can they improve in year two? We'll hear from Kalani Sitake at Big 12 Media Days.
So excited about our panel today.
I'm Fox 13 investigative reporter Nate Carlisle. Never mind bronze, silver, and gold. The talk Wednesday was about green, as in cash. How much Utah benefited economically from the 2002 Winter Olympics and Paralympics and the windfall of hosting again in 2034.
Definitely put us on the map.
The Kim C. Gardner Policy Institute on Wednesday released this analysis, finding the '02 Games has provided Utah $7.5 billion in economic output over the years, far more than what the organizing committee and federal government spent here. Skier visits and national park tourism remain higher than they were before 2002.
And so we anticipate, again, similar to what was discussed this morning, of utilizing the same resource level that we did back in '02 for 2034.
Catherine Rainey Norman is chair of the bid committee. She was a Team USA speed skater during the 2002 Games.
The numbers are critical to us hosting the games and making sure that we do it in a responsible manner and that we're taking on a level of risk that we're comfortable with and that we don't put harm in the way of the state or the people of Utah.
The Gardner Institute estimates another Olympics can give Utah an additional $6.6 billion between now and 2035. John Downen, a senior research fellow at the Institute, acknowledges the new games could create additional growing pains for Utah unless legislators take countermeasures.
If the games generate additional population growth in the state like the 2002 Games did, then yes, I think you would see additional pressures on housing and affordability and things like that. Part of that too is what the state does between now and then. What happens in Utah to address those issues that we already are facing.
The Gardner analysis assumes a couple $100 million from the federal government for security, but no big infrastructure spending, which means if the federal government helps, for example, upgrade tracks or improve the freeways, Utah could benefit even more. In Salt Lake City, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now, Utah isn't just a force for the Winter Olympics.
No, the Team USA roster is set for the Paris Olympics, beginning later this month, of course, and there are 25 athletes with Utah ties. 23 are slated to compete. There's also 2 alternates. The most famous Utah name heading to Paris is former BYU star Jimmer Fredette. He's on the 3-on-3 basketball team. The most popular sports are track and field and sport climbing with 8 athletes each. USA Climbing, by the way, is based in Salt Lake City. There are also 11 Utah athletes who will represent other countries in the Summer Games. Our Fox 13 News Good Day Utah team will be on the ground in Paris when the announcement is made on July 24th, very early in the morning. We have complete team coverage of this historic event starting at 3 a.m. on Pioneer Day.
Celebrating Japanese American culture with dance and togetherness.
It makes me happy. It's always the happiest time of the year for me.
I'm Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gulbi here in Salt Lake City's Japantown, where community members are gearing up for a special celebration this weekend. They hope to help more people understand the importance of preserving Japantown, with talks of revitalizing downtown in the works.
I've been dancing for as long as I've been walking.
Sandy Iwasaki is part of the Japanese American community and has been teaching Obon dance for over 50 years.
Obon dancing is a dance of joy. It's a time that we reflect and remember our ancestors and all those who came before us and what we owe to them, because we wouldn't be here without them.
Obon dancing runs in her blood.
Because my mother was the original Obon dance instructor here in Salt Lake.
So with her kids, she teaches anyone who walks through the doors of the Salt Lake Buddhist Temple Obon dancing. They host sessions in the days leading up to the annual Obon Festival, which is this Saturday.
This is everything. It's the biggest connection to my culture. Being Japanese American, having this community and being able to celebrate and share it with others just means so much.
This year's festival comes at a time where the city is working on plans to revitalize downtown by creating a sports, culture, and entertainment district around the Delta Center, which includes Japantown.
I hope that people, when they come and experience Obon, they see how much joy, how much community, how much culture there is. And it helps them imagine what could be, that there could be even more, and to understand too that there was so much here in the past. And so it's that balance of understanding the past and coming and being excited and wanting to be involved in the community and wanting to advocate for Japantown, I think is huge.
Salt Lake City Council member Darren Mono continued to reiterate at Tuesday night's City Council meeting how important it is to make sure that Japantown is part of the conversation.
I know we didn't get everything we wanted in this participation agreement, but please stay at the table. We have a lot more work to be done and many more opportunities to fight for Japantown.
Sandy grew up in Japantown and hopes that it continues to be there for generations.
Just hope that they can preserve what we have, but also build on it.
In downtown Salt Lake City, I am Maithili Gulbi, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up, which Utah grocery stores could change ownership if the planned merger between Kroger and Albertsons goes through?
Temperatures today 104 in Salt Lake, tying a record high from 1973 and also 2013. We'll talk on how long this heat wave will last coming up.
This is a really scary challenge that I'm facing right now as a small business owner.
I'm Fox 13 News reporter Darian DeBrule. This mobile breast imaging unit has been traveling the state offering critical services to women, but now they've hit an unexpected road bump. This doesn't feel like your stereotypical doctor's office.
One thing that we like to do is give them a warm robe instead of like a paper hospital gown, so it does make it feel a little bit more spa-like.
And it's not supposed to.
My grandmother, my mom's mom, was a breast cancer survivor, so we actually call the bus Doris Jean in her honor.
Since February, Rena Vanzo and the Boob Bus have served over 350 women from Ogden to Central Utah, all with the goal of catching breast cancer early.
When I started the Boob Bus, Utah was third to the bottom in the nation for breast cancer screening. Our women just are not doing it. And so with the Boob Bus, has come this sort of revolution and this idea, let's make breast cancer screening more fun.
When the bus isn't traveling to provide critical services to women, it stays parked in Rena's backyard at her South Jordan home, where she can monitor it 24/7.
As a single mom, it's not easy for me to get up and leave and go check something if it's not here on my property.
But now she's worried she may no longer be able to park her bus in her backyard after she was notified it's a violation of South Jordan City Code. I reached out to South Jordan City. They say City Code says commercial vehicles exceeding 8,000 pounds may not be stored on a residential lot for any length of time. Rena says she submitted a request to change the city code, but says that request was denied.
From my standpoint, there really is no difference to my neighbor's RV sitting on their property and my RV sitting on my property.
She's now started an online petition and submitted an application to change the requirements to allow for an exemption for medical vehicles. She says she'll get the opportunity to present her case to the South Jordan Planning Commission and City Council in the coming months. In the meantime, she'll continue traveling and providing breast imagery services to Utah women.
Our society is always changing and we need to reevaluate the codes that are in place and for what reason.
In South Jordan, Darian DeBrule, Fox 13 News, Utah.
In Money Watch tonight, grocery chain Kroger is selling a long list of stores in 18 states, including Utah.
If the planned merger between Kroger and Albertsons goes through, a total of 569 stores will be sold to other companies. In Arizona, more than 100 stores will be sold. In Utah, there are only a few. They are in St. George, Washington City, Salt Lake City, and West Jordan, and the distribution center in North Salt Lake.
Still to come, how St. George is working to protect its power grid during the heat wave.
Is the BYU football team more prepared for year 2 in the Big 12? We'll hear from Kalani Sitake from Big 12 Media Days. And the Jazz, well, they needed a comeback if they wanted to beat the Sixers tonight in the final game of the Salt Lake City Summer League. I'll tell you if they did it coming up in sports.
Residents in one Utah city are being urged to cut power use in extreme temperatures. I'm Ben Winslow. With excessive heat warnings in southern Utah, the city of St. George is trying to protect its power grid, and it's asking residents to help out. Children play at a splash pad in St. George, trying to beat the extreme heat.
I do feel like, though, that we've found ways to kind of cope with the heat, like that we've been able to, you know, we know that if we're going anywhere outside, you need to be near water, have water, you know, all that good stuff.
With temperatures forecast to reach as high as 115 degrees in southwestern Utah this week, it risks straining St. George's municipal power grid.
We all know summer's a heavy time for electric use. Ever since air conditioning's been invented and come into the town, it uses a whole lot of energy.
The city isn't necessarily worried about blackouts, but they are part of a region-wide system.
It's a day when we expect there to be a lot of energy use. There should be a lot of energy use going on, and we expect it not just here in town, but throughout the region. I mean, you're seeing highs in Vegas that they've never had. Phoenix is pretty warm. Northern California's in a heat dome or a heat wave right now. And so there's a lot of energy use going to be happening.
City officials have now declared an orange alert day. It's based on a color-coded system they created to urge conservation. A green day is typical energy conservation that everyone ought to be doing. An orange alert asks people to not use high-energy appliances like ovens or washers and dryers, and to close exterior doors and windows to save energy, as well as unplugging EV chargers. If they get to a red alert day, they ask people to do the same things as an orange and green alert, but also raise the thermostat.
The real time we want to worry about is from about 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's when everyone's coming home from work, turning on the AC, getting dinner ready. That's when we see the most peaks in our loads. And I think that's pretty consistent around the region. And so in that time we say, hey, you know, if you can, use summer heat saving tips.
The request from the city is something Jandy Heaton says she can do.
We always try to do better. I mean, even at home, just to keep the doors shut and stuff like that already. I try to run, you know, washing machines and stuff at night if possible.
Now, with the extreme heat expected to last several days, so might the orange alerts in St. George. Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Eagle Mountain is asking some residents to stop watering their lawns. I'm Jenna Bree with Fox 13 News. More than 1,000 residents are impacted, and there could be penalties for not complying. Eagle Mountain city officials say the demand for water is outpacing their ability to fill water tanks in this area. Last night, the city sent out a message to the nearly 1,200 homes north of SR 73, asking residents to refrain from watering their lawns. Communications manager Tyler Maffett says they were hoping it would just be for 24 hours, but after checking data this morning, they had to issue a proclamation to homeowners they might need to hold off through the weekend.
If the water tanks or the water availability in the tanks reduces to a sufficient degree, our ability to fight wildfires is impacted, and if it gets even more drastic, their ability to receive water out of their taps could potentially be impacted. We don't want to see that, and so by reducing our lawn and outdoor irrigation in Eagle Mountain through the weekend to zero, we are hopeful that those are not possibilities.
City code gives the city the option to enforce against lawn watering if the water levels get low enough to be a concern. So homeowners could receive a citation for watering their lawns this weekend. In Eagle Mountain, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Only makes sense to save the water in the
of course,
hot weather.
We need to. But with this hot weather, at least for my lawn, it doesn't matter if I'm watering it. It's not helping. It's just too hot.
You know, and a great piece of advice is if we're not in a drought, then we should be preparing for our next drought. So conserve as you can. I know it's really hot right now, and we're going to remain very hot over the next several days. Tomorrow's forecast is 105. We did tie a daily record today here in Salt Lake, and tomorrow is expected to be even hotter. It's still hot right now, 94 for Salt Lake. You're going to need the air conditioner on the drive home this evening at 10 o'clock at night. 105 currently, 106 for St. George right now, 94 for Wendover. So it's hot across the board right now. And as we look at the heat risk for the next few days, a lot of the state is in the major to extreme level 3 out of 4 and also level 4 out of 4 risk for the state heading into the next few days. High pressure continues to be our main story, although we'll have some limited moisture available, so we could possibly see some afternoon storms firing off the next few days. And with that, our main concerns would be dry microbursts or possibly some areas of dry lightning. Of course, with the latter, that could possibly start some new wildfires, so we'll want to keep a close eye on that again tomorrow, as high pressure continues to be our main weather feature for the next several days. Hour by hour forecast, waking up on Thursday morning, it is going to be about 65 to 75 degrees for most of the state early in the day tomorrow. We'll have our temperatures then rising close to 100 to 105 for the Wasatch Front. Southern Utah still close to 110 to 115 for the next several days. And then our chance of precipitation for Ogden's pretty low throughout the extended forecast. As we look into Provo, your chance of precipitation heading into the second half of the weekend and early next week will be isolated starting on Sunday. St. George have a very hot 7-day forecast, but by Monday, maybe some isolated showers along with a tiny bit of relief, bringing you closer to 105 starting on Sunday. And for Moab, isolated storms are possible Sunday into early next week. Tomorrow, St. George 114. I do want to mention that tomorrow's daily high temperature is the record is 117, and that's also the hottest temperature ever recorded here in Utah. So we're not quite going to be there, but we'll be pretty dang close for tomorrow. 114, 115 maybe tomorrow. 113 for Friday, 109 for Saturday. And then only a little bit of relief. It's still really, really hot in the forecast starting on Sunday, 105 into the middle of next week. And for the Wasatch Front, we have 105 for tomorrow, 105 for Friday for Salt Lake, and 106 on Saturday. Now we do have about a 10% chance of reaching 107 here in Salt Lake over the next few days. And that's the hottest temperature we've ever had here in Salt Lake City, all-time record. Now, as we look into next week, temperatures are in the upper 90s, but I quickly wanted to talk about what we can expect beyond the 7-day forecast. And brace yourself, because it's not the best news. I think many of you will be disappointed to hear. Temperature outlook leading up to Pioneer Day, the 18th of July through the 24th of July, we stay with above average temperatures here in Utah. A normal high this time of year, 93.
Final day of Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas. Kyle Whittingham and the Utes spoke to the media yesterday. Today, it's Kalani Sitake and the Cougars in the spotlight. This will be the year number 2 for BYU in the Big 12. The Cougars were 2-2 after their first 4 conference games last season, but then they lost their next 5 games to finish 2-7 in Big 12 play. Coach Sitake says they're better prepared for year number 2 in the Big 12.
I would be a little nervous if we were just completely overwhelmed from last year. And I know everyone looks at the record. We had flashes of where we can compete. The issue for us would be, can we do it consistently? And we've been able to get there and have moments where we can compete. How can we do it consistently? That's my job as a head coach. A lot of variables go into that, and I had to decide which ones matter the most, and then how can we develop it and make it even better this next year. I can tell you the learning process from year 1 to year 2 naturally already happens. Our guys now know what to expect. We're not just hoping that what we did last year was enough. We've made some moves, we've done some things differently, and I think I'm excited to see what happens when we get to the season.
The Jazz played their final game of the Salt Lake City Summer League tonight against the 76ers. Keontae George led the late rally, throws down 2 of his 31 points. Then he gets it to Taylor Hendricks, who closed out the game with this dunk. He had 18 points. Jazz won at 93-85. They went 2-1 in SLC. Now it's on to the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas, where it's really hot.
Taylor, I didn't think you were going to let go of the rim.
Yeah, right?
He was just savoring
A
it.
big statement win dunk right there.
Yeah, that was good.
76ers.
Jazz looking good.
Yeah, 2-1,
nice
pretty
young
good.
class.
Yeah, look good.
Yeah.
Stop.
No, you
We didn't
stop.
say anything.
Yeah, we didn't say anything about the young class.
You stopped yourself.
Teams
They look
coming
good.
together.
They look great. They look really
Thanks,
good.
Jeff.
Backpedal,
We'll be right
backpedal,
back.
backpedal, backpedal.
Look at this. The Big 12 Conference announced the formation of its first ever alumni council. It's comprised of 32 former student athletes from men's and women's sports. Do they look familiar?
Yeah, Steve
Cougars.
Hatch.
You got it. Yeah.
2 good ones.
Former star quarterback Steve Young joining, and then there is Ashley Hatch. They'll both be representatives on the council. They are expected to provide guidance on brand building, athlete relations, storytelling, digital content, and more.
Go Cougars!
And how to throw a football and kick a soccer
Isn't it
ball.
Go Rugby?
Yeah.
All right, stop it. Quickcast is next.
Reference to last night.
Yeah.